Anyway, Ryan Broyles, going back to him. So he was unable to come, and we opted to do this Ask Us Anything at the prodding of Dave Vanderlaan. I don't know if I'm ever saying that right, but Dave, I hope I am. I hope I is. Who is the leader of our Chicago Multifamily and More group, who's grown very, very rapidly, actually. So that's going to be the play for tonight. So guys, you can, as whenever you want, just start popping questions into the chat box, popping questions into the Q&A, wherever you want to put them. Excuse me. I could tell you that Ben and I, being the social media whores that we are, will take every bit of this and cut it into little pieces and send it out everywhere. So you guys will see this wherever we possibly can put it, coming to a social media platform near you. Yeah, so there we go. And A+ for, oh, that's good. That's good. All right, so we've got a question already coming in. Let's see if we can get Quiet French Ben to start the answer on this. So what got you into real estate, Ben?
What do we do in real estate? What is our market?
Start with that. What got you into real estate?
Yeah, what got me into real estate? It's a good question. Bigger Pockets podcast. I was in the hospitality industry before that, and I was a traveling consultant for hotels and resorts, and I was traveling quite a bit on my own for like 20, 25 days in a row. And I got tired, lonely, and bored, so I discovered the Bigger Pockets podcast, started listening to a few of these, and got hooked. That's what got me started.
Very cool. What drew you to it, though? I don't even know if I know. What drew you to, like, what made you listen to a Bigger Pockets podcast?
I don't remember. Can't answer that question. I just remember listening to a Bigger Pockets podcast.
I love. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. What I do currently is, apart from being Jamie's partner. Let's just say it like that.
Jamie's better half.
We still try to acquire mid-size apartment buildings in Southeast Michigan, Ohio, and a couple of different other states. I also run a turnkey operation here in Cleveland, Ohio. So we have bought, rehabbed, and are managing about 200 single-family homes and single-family properties. So we target mostly French investors and help them, kind of invest in U.S. dollars and in turnkey properties. Yeah. What about you, Jamie?
Ben's a baller. So I started in real estate by accident. Some of you have heard the story. I'll try to keep it brief as a result. But I bought a house when I lived in upstate New York, excuse me, to live in. And when I moved to Boston a few years later, I was unable to sell it. So it was 2008 when I moved to Boston. So not a great time to be selling a house anyway. So I started in real estate accidentally, hated that house, hated being a landlord, thought it was a burden. I just wanted to move on with my corporate life. And I couldn't get rid of this place 6 hours away from Boston, where I was living at the time. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I read when I was 22. It made sense, but I didn't really do anything with it. I read it again at like 36. So 3-4 years ago, and or maybe it was like 37, 3-4 years ago. And it kind of clicked for me. So I ended up doubling down, studying Bigger Pockets podcasts, bought a couple duplexes, made sense to me to go bigger, got into Jake and Gino, heard their podcast, and then and kind of went from there. To answer the other part of your question, Philip, what is your market? So Ben and I are focused in Michigan. We're looking to acquire, really honestly almost anything at this point, but our core criteria is larger buildings if we can get our hands on them. So 80 plus units, that sort of thing. And do you suggest any courses or learning material? Yes, a lot. So what's cool about this community is it's a completely free platform. So if you're in a group, any one of our groups, the Michigan group, Chicago, South Florida, you name it, we got them all over the country. You can go to multifamilyandmore.com, find them all, click on one of them and join them. There's tons of interaction in there that you'll learn from. You also, and Ben can type this in while I'm blabbering, you can also go to youtube.com/multifamilyandmore. And we've got a ton of educational content on there that you can just consume. Interviews with syndicators, with people that are more focused on mindset. And we've created playlists recently, including one called the Newbie Playlist. So we took all of the videos that were best for new investors to consume and stuck them in a newbie playlist. If you're interested in syndication, we've got a syndication playlist that involves like Dylan Marma, who's a syndicator, Jillian Sedati, who's an SEC attorney, all these different entities that we interviewed that you can watch everything you want to know about syndication on that playlist. So check that out. Beyond that, masterminds are a great place to go. Ben and I are part of the Wheelbarrow Profits community, which is Jake and Gino, if you know who they are. And that's
actually how we met. To answer Daryl's question, we met through the Bigger Pockets, not the Bigger Pockets, the Jake and Gino Academy, Wheelbarrow Profits, about 1.5 or 2 years ago at this point. 2 years.
2 years. I remember the date, Ben. I really don't, but it was 2 years ago. But yeah, Wheelbarrow Profits was great because they are a mastermind and also educational platform. So Ben and I learned a lot about multifamily by just consuming their content and then networking within that community.
Before being a mastermind, they were an education platform. So what Jake and Gino did is, they just documented their journey, put it online for people to follow, and it was really interesting. They got a lot of following, and then the mastermind came. But yeah.
So that's that. And so I would go there. Book wise, if you're looking to get into like syndication, the Joe Fairless book, the best ever real estate or best ever syndication book is great. Of course, mindset wise, Rich Dad Poor Dad's a great book if you haven't read that. Other real estate books, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller is a good one. There's a lot of them. And in fact, anybody who wants to suggest books, drop them in there. I see Pitch Anything. There's some really great books out there that you can read to get yourself started on this journey. Let me see if there's anything in here. No. All right. What other questions do we have here? What's that?
What's the genesis of multifamily and more? Where do you see this in 5 years from now? That's you.
That's me. Yeah. Multifamily and more was started as a result of not being able to get brokers to take us seriously. So we started a meetup in Michigan, called it Michigan Multifamily and More, because we were convinced that without any other multifamily meetups out there, somebody must have tried this and failed because nobody wanted to come to a multifamily only meetup. So we called it Multifamily and More. Thought we could bring in other content like flippers, this, that, and the other, but it ended up being everyone came for the multifamily. So we started it here. My partner, Ben, we met through an online community. We met online, kind of a match.com. And he lives in South Florida. So we thought, well, let's just do it there. South Florida Multifamily and More. The goal of this group has always been to help people reach financial and lifestyle freedom, because that's what we seek, right? So we are not your gurus. We're not, 1,000-unit investors or anything like that. We started this community with no multifamily. We were very clear and transparent about that. And our goal was to simply create the network. We didn't imagine, I think initially, that it would be this, but now we stand at 18 chapters and 7,200 members. And where we see it in 5 years from now is much larger. And what we plan to do is figure out how we can serve the different levels of investor, the different experience levels of investor. That's what we're working on right now. So if you're new, what can we give to new investors, or what service or support can we offer to that person? If you're, highly experienced or somewhat experienced, you've got, a decent unit count and you're kind of looking to go to that next level, what kind of service can we put together to serve that cohort of people? That's our main focus right now, is creating the right environment, community, content, tools, goal setting apparatus to drive, both cohorts forward, but also get them in proximity to one another. I don't know if that explains it well, Ben.
I think it does.
That's it. That's Ben. I thought he'd do some fill.
No.
I think it does. Give me 4 words of fill so I can read.
That's all you get.
So hopefully, Dave, that answers your question. But that's what we see, numbers wise. I could see this at 40, 50,000 members in 5 years. I don't think that's unreasonable, especially because I think we'll be stable for a while. There'll be a dip, a lot of buying in 12 to 18 months. And I think multifamily is the most stable asset in the commercial investing group. So I think multifamily is here to stay, and there's going to be a lot of interest in it for years to come. Ben, this is you. What are your thoughts on working with foreign investors?
I love foreign investors. That's mostly who I work with. And foreign being from France or other French-speaking countries. And are you doing this face for me, or are you just reading questions?
I was reading. Oh, was I doing this? I pull up the QA box. It's in front, so I can't see me. I just see the QA box. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, for foreign investors are just like any other investors. They want a good product. They want honest people to work with, and the advantage of foreign investors is it depends on where you invest. But the United States is a great place for real estate. We have great returns, and returns are getting tighter and tighter in France, specifically the economy. They don't really know where it's headed. They do have access to really cheap loans. So they have access to money, but they don't have access to deals that make sense. And well, for me, this is where, I come and play. I have some products to offer. They have the money, and it's kind of like a partnership. So love it.
Yeah. Ben, what's the thought of foreign investors will take a lesser return than a domestic investor, if you will?
Yeah, it all depends on your perspective. So in France, a good return is 4 or 5%. What we do here in Cleveland is 11 to 13% return on investment, net, depending on how you calculate net return. That's a big difference. So it's all depending on what your perspective. That's it.
Very good. Very good. We got a Q&A and chat questions. So let me go back to the chat and see if there's anything in there. How did we meet? Foreign investors. Most difficult thing we each had to overcome to get started.
Mindset.
Go ahead, Ben.
Mindset.
What do you mean by that? Expand.
Well, I mean, mindset is always going to be the most difficult thing you have to overcome when doing anything new in life. That's the only thing that you can overcome that easily, by the way, just with education. And this is why I know it's been the case for Jamie and for both Jamie and I going through a mastermind like Wilbur Profits, where you first have to go through the education, and I went through the course, and then I started talking in the groups and asking questions. Once you have the education, you have if you talk about real estate or multifamily, you learn the lingo, and then you start talking to people. All of a sudden, the conversations you would otherwise have with people are just different. And you feel more confident, and your mindset changes, and then everything kind of goes, more smooth.
Well said. My answer would be mindset, just like Ben's, especially when it came to multifamily or even really any investing. You listen to these podcasts, you hear these things that people are doing, and it's like, oh, that's bigger than anything I can do. I remember first listening to a Bigger Pockets podcast early on when I was first getting into this investing thing. And they had a panel. It was like Ben Leibovich, Serge Shukot, or something like that was his name, and somebody else. And they were talking about syndication, although I didn't understand what that meant at the time. It just sounded way out there, like out of this world. And I remember Ben Leibovich saying, hey guys, this sounds amazing, but I think most people are thinking about like buying a single or a duplex. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Who are these idiots with their big terms and big investing goals here? Like, I just want a single family. So it was overcoming that at each level. So can I buy a distressed property and fix it up and burr it? Overcame that limiting belief. But then when it came to multifamily or larger multifamily, it was like, wow, this thing really seems complicated. But to Ben's point, getting myself educated, using things like, look, if you want to talk mindset, pure mindset, I think if you're not using like a miracle morning type routine where you do things around affirmation, where you have positive self-talk, because none of us do typically, you hear the average 2-year-old hears a no 11 times before they hear yes, right? No, don't do that. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. And that's our upbringing. So to break yourself out of like that negative talk down to yourself mindset, things like affirmations, things like journaling, meditating, as woo-woo as some may feel they are, those have been life altering for me. And without those habits, routines, rituals, and sticking to them over a long period of time, I don't believe I would have been able to overcome the limiting belief around, can I invest in this asset class? So I would say mindset is absolutely the biggest thing to overcome. And the best way to truly eradicate yourself of it is do the thing that scares you. Buy a deal. That's it. And I'm not saying buy any deal, but buy a deal. Like pull the trigger, get the deal, get it done. Don't look for ways out of it. Look for ways to make it happen. And all of a sudden it becomes your reality, and it becomes like anything else. Your goal is to, if you're faced with level 7, level 8 problems, you want to elevate yourself to a level 8 plus person. That's the goal. So if you look at buying a duplex as all the complexity, that's like a bigger problem. Well, then you need to raise yourself and your mindset to at least the level of the problem, if not bigger, so that you can squash that problem, no problem. So,
and that's a natural process in any case. Like, once you've bought your first home, you've bought your first home. Like, okay, it's behind me now. Once you, it's just a natural process. So, but educate yourself first.
Yeah. Ben, to this question, there's a question here. Do you still have limiting beliefs pop up from time to time? And if so, how do you overcome them?
Every day. I just call Jamie.
I'm his coach. Is that your answer? You call me? That's how you overcome them?
No, I do call Jamie from time to time, but not for advice. He calls me for advice. What I do is, so there are different ways. Sometimes I don't like to talk as much as Jamie, so I like to write things down. I took this from Joe Fairless. We were talking about the whole affirmation thing. It's kind of hard for me to say things out loud, especially to myself or looking in the mirror. I just took a notepad and
is that you?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yep. It's my computer kind of. Anyways, and just writing, an affirmation 10 times every day, and it just goes into your subconscious, and ultimately that's how your brain's going to feed on that information without you thinking of it, and then things are going to change, and you will be more confident.
No doubt. I just interviewed Pat Hyben today, who where is it? I have his book. He wrote this book, 6 Steps to 7 Figures. I don't know if any of you have seen this book, but you can jot down if you have or haven't. But and he's one of the founding members of GoBundance. So I got on with him and interviewed him for our channel. So that'll be coming out soon. And it was about affirmations, to be honest with you. This is a guy that he was rated the #1 realtor in the country by Keller Williams and RE/MAX in like 2011 or something. But it doesn't matter the year. Keller Williams and RE/MAX rated him the #1 agent in the world. Did I say country? It was in the world for both of those franchises. And he spoke to his success being rooted in affirmation. So to answer your question, I forget who it was that asked about, do you still have limiting beliefs? Absolutely do. And I think affirmations are powerful. For me, the more powerful is meditation, because if you're practicing meditation, it is not what people think. And that is like, I don't meditate well because I can't get my mind quiet. I can't get my thoughts to stop. Like, that's not really what meditation is about. That's not what I attempt to do in meditation. In meditation, when you're thinking all the time, your goal is to recognize it in that moment and bring yourself back to something that you're focused on, your breath or whatever the case may be. Mostly it's your breath. So that's what meditation is recognizing when something's happening and bringing yourself back to center, not to ignore the thought, but approach it with curiosity. When I get into a place of a limiting belief coming up or feeling that sense of stress, what typically happens for most people, and me for a lot of years, is I would do what I could to get away from it. Eat something, watch something, drink something, try to go to sleep, read something, get on social media, whatever. Now my goal, because of my meditation practice, what it's taught me after doing it for a long time and still to this day, is, okay, this is interesting. I can feel this stress. I can feel this sweat building on me right now. Why is that? How big a deal is this? And let me refocus and recenter myself on evidence, on reality, because often the reality is this isn't as big a deal as you think it is. And truthfully, like a bully, when you confront that emotion and you look at it from a place of curiosity and you let it happen, you just let it go through you, and you know that that's happening, meaning you're being present, again, a meditation term, it will dissipate. It will go down like anything. Whenever if that thing that you've been putting off and you're stressed about, the second you finally do it, the stress goes down. It's the same thing with limiting beliefs that pop up. When you approach them and come at them and allow them, that's how I deal with them. So I hope that answers the question. I think that was Jesse. Hope that answers the question, Jesse. Let's go over to the Q&A real quick. Is there a list of due diligence items list available to check once we get a property under contract? So
Yes.
yes, we have one, if that's what you're asking.
Should
Right?
have one. Yes.
What's that?
And yep, whoever's asking, I didn't check the Q&A. I should have one as well. We'd be happy to forward that to anyone who wants.
Yep. Anonymous attendee is the name that asked the question. So I don't know who it is. Yeah. If you want to send an email to Jamie at multifamilyandmore.com, I'll gladly send our due diligence. Actually, you know what? Hold that, because I'm going to get inundated with email. Let's do it this way instead. How do we do it, Ben? Should we post it in the Multifamily More page?
Just do info. There's not like, we don't have 600 people here. Oh, it is live on Facebook.
Okay. Info at multifamilymore.com.
Mm-hmm.
Good enough. Info at multifamilyandmore.com, and we'll get, how do there is like 600, it's close to 600 here. Info at multifamilyandmore.com. If you send an email to that, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the recording, send that to us, and we'll get you a copy of our due diligence checklist for sure. What else do we have? Let me answer this one. We'll go back to this. Are you trying to source, wait a minute, is that the one? Do you still, okay. Are you trying to source larger deals off market, or are you going exclusively through brokers? Whichever approach you're taking, why?
That's a funny,
I think he froze. Tell me if you guys can still hear me. Hello. You can hear me. Okay, so he froze. The question was, I got to go back to the question. Are you trying to source larger deals off market, or are you going exclusively through brokers? Whichever approach you're taking, and why. Not exclusively through brokers is the best way to answer that. Brokers, yes, but not exclusively through brokers. For the larger deals, we partnered up with another capital company, Warrington Capital, Grant Warrington, Monica Warrington, because we together bring more net worth. We bring more liquidity and more experience. Like Grant's got a ton of asset management experience, and Ben's gone, so it's just me right now. So we've leveraged another partner for that. But yes, we network with brokers, but we also look for them off market. Now, we're not marketing per se. We leverage this community. So if you're leading a community like you are, Dave, at some point, you providing value and giving value to people does return you these off market deals. So I've had deals sent to me frequently, including recently a large off-market, I wouldn't call it off-market, a large deal through somebody that was looking to potentially partner with us that was not yet listed with the broker, but the broker had the deal. So it was pre-market, but I didn't have any access to that. This person in my network came to me with that deal, ended up not working out. But the point is, we get deals through our networking, and we also network with brokers to get deal flow. Brokers can be tougher. Right now, it's been a little bit easier. I'm getting more emails from brokers. I don't know if anybody else is having that experience than I have in a long time. So right now, as we go into this COVID mode, and they're trying to liquidate because no one's selling anything and no one's buying anything, brokers are a little bit more active. Hope that answers your question. But if there's something in your career you wish you would have done different or done more or less of, what would it be? I would say, there he is. He's coming back. I would say, and I'll ask Ben this question when he comes in. I would say that the thing that I wish I would have done differently or done more of, or less of for that matter, is understand what it is to be a fully passive investor. So I think that you need to be diversified. Owning real estate and controlling real estate is more profitable, but it's more work. So I tended to take any capital I had and pour it into the active side of real estate investing, buying property. What I know now is being a limited partner on a large syndication with a reputable firm is a great diversification strategy with zero energy on your part other than placing the money. So that's something I pivoted to a bit recently, is trying to set aside some of my investment capital to put into passive investments, to buy into a syndication and get a kind of like a return. Almost, again, with a reputable company, it's not guaranteed, but it's more guaranteed than if you don't know who the company is that you're syndicating with. I've been looking at, and I'm going to be investing with a company called Western Wealth Capital. He's out of Canada, he being the owner or the principal of this firm, but they invest heavily in Arizona, invest heavily in Texas. I learned of them through, again, my network. And I think they are a very interesting firm as far as their structure, how they return capital, the rate at which they return capital. So having both passive and active streams within this investment, call it passive income area that we all think of it as, like, yeah, you get paid rent while you sleep when you own the property, but you also have to worry about maintenance and upkeep and your asset management and everything else. Whereas on the passive side, you don't really have to worry as much about that. You're not day to day anyway. You check in because you have money there, but I wish I would have done that. So Ben, the question is there something in your career you wish you would have done differently or more or less of? What would it be? I know for you it is, you wish you would have found me way earlier.
That's part of it. It's part of it. I wish I would just gotten into real estate sooner, but yeah, it's kind of a cop-out answer. I don't know. Everything for me started from a point of frustration. So I can't. It's just if I was frustrated earlier in my life and bored, then I would have discovered the Bigger Pockets podcast, earlier. But I don't think I like my past. I like all the mistakes that I made and I keep making. I think it's part of the journey. There's no perfect journey. You can't change the past. It's just part of it. It's how it should be. So just the only thing I don't really like to focus on the past. That's my biggest thing. Tomorrow I like to focus on how better can I be tomorrow. Right? Who I was yesterday is not really important.
Great point. That's a great point. Okay, so we'll come back to the chat box in a second. I'm going to go back over to the Q&A. So the question is, I've got a bunch of money stuck in a Detroit single family home right now, got it rehabbed and rented, was attempting to refinance part of the BRRRR process, and non-QM asset-based loans disappeared on me overnight. You guys have any predictions or feelings on when we might see those types of loans coming back or coming back more liberally? This is you, I think, more with your business, unless you think I'm wrong.
Sorry?
I'm sorry?
Which loans are we talking about?
Asset-based loans. I don't know what non-QM. Non-QM.
I don't know. I don't want to answer a question that.
Well, let's just ask it this way. When do you think lending loosens up?
Yesterday.
What does that mean?
So yesterday we got an email from our broker saying that the appraisal was finally going through. Now it had been on standby for a little bit, and now the banks are opening up again. So I think the answer is yesterday, because yesterday we got the email. That's just personal experience.
Okay. I could tell you, you're talking about our refi that you and I.
Right.
Okay. Yep. What about on your side, on the turnkey side, where you're buying single families and duplexes and that kind of thing? Anything changing for you, or are you getting any restrictions with lending?
With lending, no, we're actually refinancing properties, packages of single family homes and small multifamily properties. So I don't think it's tightened at all. There was just a little gap of uncertainty in the lending world, but I think it's pretty much back to business now.
Yeah. And David Schultz asked the question. We might be botching what your question is, and I apologize for that. If we are, I think what I would say, generally speaking, is lending is kind of bank by bank, broker by broker right now. Like I just closed a refi on my own personal home. It wasn't a cash out, it was a straight refi a week or two ago. So that went through fine. There's other stories, and we'll have another interview coming out of a guy who closed on a refi in the middle of COVID and got his terms despite the bank wanting to back away from it. I think the point here is there are banks doing some level of lending in almost every lending type across every lending type. Either source a bunch of banks, or if you haven't already, call a really good broker that's connected well, and they can leverage their relationship to find the lending that you need. I hope that answers your question, but I can't specifically speak to what you're asking on asset-based loans disappearing and predictions on when they're coming back. I don't. Yeah, it's hard to say, because I hear people having both experiences. Like, oh no, I got lending. Oh, I didn't, and there's so much individuality to why that is. So, good, Ben.
Good for me.
What are some terms that will make our offers look better to sellers if our offer has the same price ballpark as the others? So what are some terms that will make our offers look better to sellers if our offer has the same price ballpark as the others? Ben, you want to start with that one?
Oh, I didn't listen to your question. You can start. I'll follow up. My apologies.
That's okay. What are some terms that will make our offers look better to sellers if our offer has the same price ballpark as the others? Slippery slope here, but you could, if it's single family or something residential, I mean, I guess anything, but especially a residential property, if you're buying distressed, if you have gone through the property, you have some level of experience with construction and upkeep and the mechanics of a home, waiving the contingency for inspection is one way to make your offer more competitive. The seller doesn't have to worry about whether or not you're going to, bang them on the handrail being an inch too low or whatever the case may be. Clears that, and really all that's left is probably the financing contingency. Another thing is that offer more cash up front, larger EMD, larger down payment, more cash at the time of close. So, 30-40% versus, 20% or 25% down will help you stand out as far as the mortgage go, as far as buying the property. Quick close, if you're able to pay cash and quick close, that's going to make you stand out as far as a buyer, being a better buyer for the seller. On the multifamily side, look better to sellers. I mean, truthfully, a lot of it is, are you a closer? I mean, is what it boils down to. How well capitalized are you? Go ahead.
It's just about reputation and it was the question specific to COVID or just in general?
Terms that will make offers look better to sellers.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, more money, quick closing, and more and better reputation is if you can partner up with someone and offer them, is because we were talking about multifamily, bigger numbers, bigger spread available to you. And you can just talk to someone like Jamie and say, I need your help to make me credible, to have that better chance of getting the deal. You can offer a small percentage for that. These are things that you can do with different people. So that's another strategy.
Yeah. On the multifamily that are off market, where you're meeting the seller, like the seller, you've met the seller, it's a direct sale with the seller, the relationship's huge. And quick story, Ben and I were under contract on a property with partners in Cleveland a year ago. The seller, it fell out because of various reasons we don't need to get into, but the partner we had on the ground in Cleveland maintained the relationship with that seller. And 2 months ago, we just closed on that property at a reduced price, lower than probably what the market would bear if he brought it to market. But this seller liked the guy in Cleveland, Tal, and just decided, hey, you know what? I got you. I know you. You've got a strong general partnership. I'm just going to sell to you guys. I know how much you want it. I know how much we've been keeping in touch. So building a relationship makes you stand out as well. And we've got a great interview on our YouTube channel with Grant Warrington, who talks about that persistence, that time that he spent up front working with the seller to buy his, I think it's a 20-unit property. So some great information in there for you to check out as well. And I don't know, Ben, if you want to, up to you if you want to find that on the YouTube channel and put it in there, but don't worry about it if not.
I think Grant's here, so I'm sure he'd be.
Grant, yeah, you find it and drop it in there. Is he in there?
Yeah.
There he is, GW. Look at that, I'm talking this guy up. If I knew he was here, I wouldn't be doing that. Yeah, I see you. So Grant, drop your interview in there. Put the link in there. I know he's a little older, so he may not know how to. He struggles with this whole technology thing. Oh, I'm sorry. David had like qualifying based on your rental properties and cash flow, not an income-based loan where you're qualifying from your personal W-2s tax. Oh, I see. I got you. So you're saying those are what have dried up, qualifying on the asset itself. Yeah, go back to the same answer. I've heard on this, I've heard on refis, I've heard on cash out refis, I've heard on, just initial mortgages to buy property. Some people are saying they can't get them. Some people are saying they can get them. I think it's a matter of strength of the broker, strength of your experience. There's a lot of different factors in there. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't have a clear, 3-4 months from now, I think it's going to loosen. Like I do think multifamily prices dip in 12 to 18 months. I don't have that timeline for when some of this lending is less volatile. So, I know I don't have that, but I don't have a guess on it. I guess is my best point. But going back.
Yeah, if I can, these kinds of loans are what we're doing right now. Like right now, we're closing loans, asset-based loans, like he was saying. So it is possible. It's not.
Why do you think you are closing? Is it because of your credibility, your volume? Because you're doing a number of deals per month. So is it your volume?
I think I don't know. Relationships is probably part of it, but we're closing a deal with someone at U.S. Bank here in Cleveland. The guy, we met him probably like 2 months ago, and the person, it's actually a refi from a client that's not even living in the country, that has an eightplex that's been stabilized for a year now, and now he wants to pull some money out. It's just a new relationship that we made a couple of months ago, and that was happening. So just keep building relationships and be persistent. I think you can still close a bunch of loans right now at good rates too.
Okay, let's see. I think there was a question. I know you are oh boy, take us through, is there something in your career you wish you would, okay. Take us through the process of how you found and acquired your first multifamily deal. So we found the deal through the Multifamily and More network. Our partners, Derek and Kelly, who are now our partners, had, the property we bought was a 16 unit, 8 units on one block, 8 units on another block. The Derek and Kelly had come to our meetup a couple of months. They had met the seller. Again, for like a year, they were negotiating with this guy. They got a price on the first building, or one of the 2 buildings, the 8 unit that they agreed to. They wanted to buy both. The whole 16 unit property needed more to do it. So they brought us in on the deal, or asked if we wanted to come in on the deal. We met with them. I remember going like Buffalo Wild Wings, right? Like we really took the time to get to know them and understand their goals, our goals, and we were very much aligned. So I met with the seller and his attorney along with Derek and Kelly like on a Saturday. We went out, looked at the building, and then I went over and they were so familiar with, they had been through this building. They knew everything about it. It was really impressive. I met with the seller. At that point, there were 2 other 8 unit buildings that were in the same complex. So imagine it's a 32 unit complex that's split. One of these and one of these is one owner, and one of these and one of these is the other owner. It's like, this is weird. It wasn't the ones next to each other on one block and next to each other on the other block. They were split. But the other 2 sold. And it's funny because Ben and I knew of the other 2 because they were listed.
Yep.
So the other 2 sold. What's that?
And we made an offer.
We made an offer, and we got outbid on that offer. And we know the owner now. He's a good guy. But on the one that Derek and Kelly had an agreed price on, the seller was like, "Hey, I know what my neighbor just sold the other 2 buildings for. It's way more, but I'm going to honor the price on this 8 unit. But on the other 8 unit, I got to get more." And so he did. So we negotiated the price. I believe it was $755 when we bought it, $755,000.
Still awesome.
What's that?
Which was still great.
Yeah, $755 is still like when you average that, it was about $47,000 a door. Average rents were $578. We structured an LLC with 4 members, 25% each as the ownership stake in this LLC. And yeah, we acquired the deal. Our reposition strategy involved going in, meeting the residents, moving, getting their maintenance requests done, getting to know them, we had a set sort of CapEx budget for a roof, for common area upgrades, for some unit turns that we knew we were going to need to do. We installed some rules, and then 3 months later or so, we went to them with new leases. To give you an idea, and those of you that have heard this, my apologies, but to give you an idea, we had leases. This was 2019. We bought the property, or 2008, 18 or 19? 18, late 18, right?
Late 18, September 21st.
Yeah, it was like late 18. When we bought it, there were leases in place that had not been updated. Prices hadn't changed since, I think it was 2001 or 99.
It was like over 10 years ago. I mean, we had two bedroom apartment buildings listed and leased as one bedroom apartment buildings because the owner did not want to deal with multiple people on the lease as easy as that. So a bunch of things like that, really mom and pop.
Yeah, yeah. So we went in, we decided to raise the existing rents from an average of 578 is where they were. All existing rents went up to 675, and then the units we turned, we started at 745, and then we went to 795, and then yesterday we leased our only vacant unit for 820 plus a $25 pet fee. So big win. Our average rents are touching the mid sevens at this point from 578 about a year and a half ago. So we're up 170 bucks. Ish, 150, 60 bucks ish in average rent on the property. So that's kind of what we did, and now we're working through the refi process. So, and I hope I answered your question. Let me know if you have any more on that, and I'll be happy to jump in on it. Where else? Ben is frozen.
Am I frozen?
No. It's from earlier.
You
have to be worth a cool million before you can get into the good deals. Got any advice on moving towards investing in passive income with heavy hitters without being taken advantage of? With heavy hitters not being taken advantage of. I mean, you can bring on net worth sponsors. So if you are, Melody, if you've got a deal that, like, this is what I love about commercial. If you've got a deal, let's say it's, $1.5 million, whatever it is, right? And you want to acquire this deal, but you don't have the net worth, the liquidity, the experience, whatever it is the bank wants. You can bring all of that in to the deal for a minority stake in the deal to get you to close. So this deal in Cleveland, I'm a net worth sponsor. I'm an active member essentially, but I got a percentage of that deal simply to sign on the loan. Which there's risk to, but I decided it was a good risk for me to take. So not being taken advantage of, I would say if you give away like the majority of your equity, if you're buying the property, not syndicating, if you're buying the property and you've got the down payment, if you've got everything that you need other than say net worth, then you bring in a net worth sponsor for 10, 12% of the deal. And you take the deal down. They're really not an active participant in the deal. They have a minority stake in it. I don't know if I'm answering the question, but do you have any thoughts on not being taken advantage by heavy hitters?
Ask for references.
Like a job interview.
No, I mean, not everyone's going to try and take advantage of you to some degree. It's all about doing your research and being careful. So
here's what Ben and I did. Just to give you an idea of when we formed our partnership, we each took DISC profiles. If you're not familiar with a DISC profile, DISC, you can Google it, pull it down. It doesn't have to be that. There are many, many personality profiles. What's good about that is, yes, it reveals like your communication style, how you think, and how you act under stress and all that good stuff, and lets you kind of compare, contrast, and see if there's synergy between you and a potential partner. But it really opens up conversation to the human. So you get a better sense of the person that you're dealing with as opposed to, their net worth or their liquidity or their business experience. So I don't know. That's a tactic that we utilized to help feel as though we felt comfortable coming into this partnership. And so far it's worked. So far. How's our partnership split up? Who does what? I do everything. Ben does nothing, and we're 50-50. Let's go on. Now, you want to talk through that?
You do the talking, I do the working. Right?
It's not far off. So we have two businesses, right? We have our capital company, and we have our brand, Multifamily and More. The brand is more me as the mouthpiece. I'm setting up interviews. I'm organizing things. I'm doing all of that. Ben is running all back-end operations. So we split it up by, honestly, DISC profile, right? We split it up by my profile tends to be more communicative. That way, Ben is more, he's Monday.com. He's systems and processes. So we've just naturally allowed ourselves to lean into our strengths. And that really even from like the property itself, like we split property management responsibilities, for instance, on the 16 unit that we talked about. What that looks like is, until recently when we hired a property manager, which was our plan, I was the one dealing with tenants and toilets, as they say. And Ben was taking care of, hey, Ben, we need, notice of a lease coming up. E-lease is sent. Send a notice to this person that they got to move out. Take care of this, take care of that. Call this vendor, call that vendor. Negotiate the wash contract, right, for our washing machine.
They did a terrible job.
But that's all Ben. So I tend to deal with the people aspect. Ben tends to deal with the systems aspects. And we're 50-50 partners.
Well, it was clear from the beginning and that we were going to do what we were comfortable doing and what made us happy. Because you don't want to be, in a partnership or just not even in a partnership, you don't want to be doing what makes you unhappy all the time. So I don't want to go live on Facebook every day. So we just agreed to do what we were better at. And it's not who does more. It's not a 50-50 thing. I obviously work a lot more, but as long as we're happy.
There's a concept that you can Google, and I think it applies here, that I'm learning. So I'm no expert at it. I'm not going to claim to be. It's called appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry. And what that concept is around leadership is, rather than, and all of us do, focus on what your weaknesses are. Understand what your strengths are and double down on that. And again, I'm probably bastardizing this a little bit, but double down on that, because if you lean into what you're good at, if you understand what you're good at, you list that out and you really focus and lean into that, the opportunities or the things that you're struggling with tend to go away. So for me, I don't want to deal with back-end systems and processes. I understand them. I utilize the systems he wants me to sometimes, but it's not where I want to be. I'm good at this. I'm good at creating content, interviewing people, networking. That's my mind. My mind works that way. Ben's great at taking all of that craziness and structuring it. And we double down on those skill sets. So appreciative inquiry, check that out. We're getting a little late in the day, so we're trying to blow through these a little bit. When you are underwriting, do you consider only based on current income, or you pay up a little for value that you feel you could add? It seems many writings always say don't pay current owner for value that you are adding.
Yeah, we were taught to pay on actuals, and we're really strict on that.
We are. I do think there's a place to pay for some value add. I without getting too specific, there's, you may need to pay into the upside a little bit, but you got to be really, really careful with that. But some people do. Some people do buy into the upside a bit if they see enough of it. I mean, if you're like half the rents, like if you are pretty confident that like rents are 400 and they should be 800 or 900, and you're going to pay a little more, maybe like as if the rents were 500. I guess that's a situation where you could consider it. But we had an example very quickly of a property that was beautiful. And the asking price was inclusive of a piece of land there. Like when you drove into the property, it was like building, empty lot, right? Mm-hmm. So like you could build easily like a 12-unit building on there. I forget how big the rest of the complex was. And they were pricing that into the purchase price that we were to pay. And we just said, no, we're paying on these 3 buildings, not on the 4th building that's not even there yet. So generally speaking, I would say don't pay into upside. But we're closing on a refi Monday. Grant, congratulations, buddy. Just sent you and yeah, by the way, that refi you'll hear more about very soon. So stay tuned to our YouTube page. Just sent a Facebook. I don't know. Okay. Loving the answers. I'm 23 and an aviation mechanic, the Navy on jets. Well, thanks for this. Thanks for your service, Philip. So real estate is a whole new world for me. Is there any groups in Virginia? There happens to be Hampton Roads, Virginia, if that's where you are, which you probably are.
Extremely active and pretty recent group. Very, very proud of what they're doing. So
the 2 guys leading it have like 400 units that they're partnered up on, and they're both military. One's former special ops, and the other one is in Japan right now, Anthony. So Hampton Roads Multifamily More, Philip, would love to have you join that. Yep. Also, does education go hand in hand with networking, or should I be fully educated before? No. They go hand in hand.
They do.
Go ahead.
I mean, there's not one that you can finish before the other. Both of them are infinite. So, yeah.
Get to networking. Tips for networking: listen. And I say this a lot. Don't ask this question. I hate this question. Boy, this is great. Thanks for all you told me. How can I add value to you? How can I add value to you? It's a terrible question. Only because I should say terrible. That's not nice, but it's not a great question because you're putting infinity in front of somebody to think of on the spot right in front of you. It's awkward. It's tough. It's burdensome to the person that you're asking. Instead, understand what you're good at. Could be anything. Could be interacting with people, could be bird dogging, could be Facebook ads, whatever. And if you just state like, hey, I'm really great with this, if that's ever something that you could use help with, I'm happy to jump in and do that for you. I'd love to add value to you in that way. That gives that person the ability to say that yes or that no, as opposed to this infinite possibility of how you could add value to that person. So that's my tip for networking. Final stretch, Ben. That's everything. Keeps the relationship with the seller. Do you guys maintain relationships with your sellers after you have completed deals with them? No, I haven't. Not in any deal I've ever done. You?
No.
You might. For turnkey?
No, because it's set up a little specific. Yeah. So no.
The deal in Cleveland, I know Tal, our partner there, probably is because that guy has 2 other buildings. So I think it just depends on, does it make sense to? I mean, not that you want to just like, you're worthless to me now, but you've done for them what you needed to by buying a property and you've acquired it. But if there's an advantage to keeping up with the seller, then you can.
Well, it depends because there's something we try to do. I think you talked about this or maybe it wasn't you. Just go through your list of contacts and even random people and that's kind of a thing on following up on people and giving without expecting anything in return. Just going through your list of contacts and it doesn't have to be previous sellers, anyone. I'm just sending a friendly text saying, how are you doing? Just not expecting anything in return. And these could be sellers. So that's a great way because maybe you bought something from someone 6 months ago and, every 6 months you get a text from you and he's going to remember you. And then, 2 years from now, maybe he's going to be ready to sell something else, or maybe someone in his family is going to be ready to sell something, and if the text or the message or the email that he receives, corresponds with the timeline, or he's ready to sell something, or knows someone who's going to sell, then yeah. So I mean, we're not trying to stay friends with everyone we're buying properties from, but following up on a constant basis and kind of randomly at the same time is important.
I like it. I'm going to answer 2 questions in one here. Actually, one's a question, one's kind of a question. So do we plan to have a multifamily mixer event in Michigan this year after normalcy returns? I don't know the answer to that right now. This year is going to be tough. I just don't think people are going to be comfortable attending that type of event until there's a cure or vaccine. But what I will say is, if you guys have not yet, please tune into one of the multifamily and more events that we have going on. We are either bringing epic guests or we've got a really, really great flow. The communities that we're all a part of, the multifamily more communities, we have decided that if it's going to be virtual, we're not going to just make it like, we'll do virtual until it comes back. We'll do virtual meetups until we can go live. Instead, we've decided, no, let's make these freaking amazing. So our meetups are going to be structured in such a way that adds a ton of value. I'll be as bold as to say, you'll say, man, actually, it may be even better virtual. I'm going to put that out there. You can check out, we're doing an Instagram workshop on the 21st. You can check that out. I'll have an announcement on the 27th coming out. That's more of a big speaker that's going to be on that. But as you go through the different meetups, we're doing some cool stuff. On the big name front, Vinny Chopra. So Jesse, I'm going to give you a promo, Jesse, Anna, and oh God, I forgot Anna's husband's name already. My bad. The Colorado group, if you go to multifamilymore.com and choose the Colorado group and please request membership there, Vinny Chopra is going to be his guest on a meetup, Jesse's guest on their meetup on May 20th, 6 p.m. Pacific, I believe. So that would be 9 p.m. Eastern. Is it 6 p.m. Pacific, Jesse, or Mountain? You got to confirm that for me. But either way, go to the Colorado group, join that group, and check out Vinny Chopra on May 20th. That's going to be really cool. And if you're into Instagram and trying to grow your portfolio, come back to 21st. It's in the Michigan group for an Instagram workshop that'll blow your freaking minds. We had a couple. Fernando, thank you, hon. I'll hear that later. It's too many names coming into multifamily more right now. And I only remember you anyway. Who cares about him? I'm kidding. So question, also a great note. Outside of the real estate world, what are you most excited about right now? Ben, what are you excited about? We're going to end it on this.
No, I think that was a question, and also oh, was it? I thought he was just saying that was another great question to ask as you're networking. I didn't think it was a question.
Oh, well, it
Oh,
says
I demand
question,
an
also a
answer.
great networking
It was
question,
an
meaning
answer.
like it's a question for us, but it's also a great networking question. He demands an answer.
I am excited about. Not sure.
This guy just bought a house, beautiful
All
girlfriend,
right,
lives in
I'm
South
excited.
Florida.
Okay, fine. I'm excited about. I'm looking at boats right now, small boats, because so the thing I'm excited about is because now we live on the water and we have an access to the ocean. So I'm excited about discovering another way of living that I've been dreaming about for quite some time, and I think it's gonna be awesome.
Okay, cool. I'm excited about, I guess it's not about this whole real estate world, right? What am I most excited about? My two sons' birthdays are both coming up, Friday and June 3rd. There'll be 2 and there'll be 5. And we've got a barbecue we're doing with the neighbors, socially distanced, of course. We're making tres leche cake, which is, if you don't know what it is, it's fan-frickin-tastic. And it's appropriate. My wife's Dominican, so it's a cake that she grew up with, obviously. So I'm looking forward to that, honestly. Our pool's going to be opening up on Tuesday. Just life, man. Honestly, I just, there's so much that you could be worried about. And I think this whole COVID thing brought so much perspective to all of us on what really is and really what isn't important. So I'm gonna go bonus. Anybody wants to stick around? There's a couple more out there I want to throw out. Can I use I'm sorry, on the live chat, I'm hoping to use my VA loan to purchase a multifamily. Any advice or resources I could reference? Yes. Daniel, this question is from Phil Capron. Wrote a book called
My Vietnam.
VA loan, being a millionaire on VA loan, something like that. Look up Phil Capron VA book. Capron is his last name. Very good book. Cool stories too about his some of his experiences in special ops. So check that book out. He's a good friend of mine. I talk to him every Monday night on an accountability pod, and yeah, so that's a great book that you can use. Oh, you do already. He has his book already. That's the resource I would give you. He's the guy I would give you too if you haven't talked to him. And then we got Rolando asking first steps you would take to grow from small multifamily to large multifamily. I would say not first 3, but first 2 are find networking communities and be active and get educated. That's it. So read books, join a mastermind, join an education course or whatever are the 2 things I would say you should do. Melody says we got to update the main multifamily more page. So all the groups show. Are all the groups not showing there? That's you, Ben, back end
The
systems.
main multifamily more page.
Like multifamilymore.com. Is that what you mean, Melody? If she's still on? I don't know if she's still on or not. She is. Multifamilymore.com should have all of them. Yeah, Dave said all 18 are on there now.
Yep.
Oh, on the Facebook page itself, are the groups all linked?
Oh, because maybe they don't manage all the groups. That's I see what you mean. Yes.
Yeah. So go to multifamilyandmore.com, the website, and you can click on Colorado and that'll get you in there. So, but yeah, Ben, thank you, Melody. See, who does more work? All Ben has to do is systems and he can't even freaking do it. It's unbelievable. I'm absolving this partnership right here. 9:04 Eastern on May 13th. Ben does more. My booty. Who is that? GW. Whatever, Grant. Whatever. Guys, I appreciate you. Oh, let's see if there's any other questions here. Is there any rehab that's too much rehab? Yes. In my opinion, there is. But it's really a matter of what you like. I talk about Grant Warrington. He's got some significant construction experience, so maybe not. But then again, a guy like him might say, I know what it takes and I don't want to deal with it. I mean, you could tear a house down. That's the worst it gets. But for me, yes, there are rehabs that are too much. And we turned down 2 properties we were under contract with when we got into them and saw like, wow, yeah, you know what? The foundational work that was needed on one of them and half the house was falling on another one. It was more than I wanted to take on. But it really is individual, I think.
It is, and I think it's mindset. So I would say no. Depends on your mindset.
Ben, you're making it difficult for me to get snippets that I can use of you on our platform. So we'd like for you to be more verbose next time. Just a little feedback.
Thank you. I'll try to be.
You concerned? I'm going to keep. I'm going to go on one or two more here. Are you concerned if renters won't or can't pay if this pandemic goes for too long? There was a question as well about why do I think 12 to 18 months there will be opportunity to buy. So here's my theory. Here's my thought. Here's what I've learned, and I'll parrot from other people that are way smarter than me. Right now, things are stable. Unemployment checks are coming in. There's a sense of, a general sense, I think, of like, okay, this thing will end at some point or whatever. So property prices, I think, are fairly stable. There's not a lot of supply. Not a lot of people are listing property. I think everything's kind of status quo. As we go deeper into this pandemic and unemployment stretches out further and, the benefits aren't there anymore, I think you're going to start to see people, looking to downsize, unable to pay their mortgage, maybe some foreclosures. There're going to be more supply in the market. I think realtors would tell you right now that it's limited supply. Activity is still strong because there's more demand, but as you see supply creep up, you're going to see pricing suppress, people having to get out of their property and can't now because their job is gone. The career path they chose has completely shifted because COVID forced it to, and you're going to see sellers desperate to get out who are competing against everybody else desperate to get out, which will suppress prices. I don't believe we're looking 2008 style. I don't think that at all. And I think it'll be a fairly quick rebound on the other side. Again, this is just my thoughts, but that's why I think it'll be 12 to 18 months. And I am concerned that renters won't be able to pay. This is a good time if you're renting, because you have time to make sure that you bring the right kind of renters in, subsidized, SSDI, essential workers, that sort of thing, to make sure your renter mix is solid. So, Ben, do you have any thoughts on that?
I agree. No, I don't.
That's going to be the soundbite. You guys are going to get a video on YouTube. It's going to be like, it's going to say like Ben's thoughts, right? And then it's going to pop
I'm
up.
excited. So I love real estate. I really found a passion in real estate. I really do think though that I'm going to continue doing real estate, more and more and more. But within the next 12 to 36 months, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to buy non-real estate businesses or small businesses. So I'm actually, Dave, to get back to your question, that's probably the most exciting thing I'm thinking about doing right now. Just learning how small businesses in general work and how to acquire them, just the same way as we do multifamily properties.
I love it. That's a great point. Yeah. Ben is always thinking of a way to take advantage in a good way, one of the pods I belong to, that's what we've been talking about, is what does this market do? What happened in '08? What emerged from that? What was that opportunity? Yep. Non-real estate or maybe related to real estate. So we're talking about that now. Like, what ideas do we have? Where do we think that place is to kind of place some bets and put some money? And I would challenge all of you to think of the same thing. Like, retail centers, what could those be? What does a medical facility look like? Do you need drive-through medical facilities? Is that a way to retrofit buildings to bring in that kind of tenant? There's a lot of different thoughts out there. Apparently pets are huge right now. People are adopting dogs and cats left and right. There's a shortage at shelters because people are just adopting these animals. So what does that mean to veterinarians and maybe the space that veterinarians lease? Could you buy property that could potentially be rented to a veterinarian? Things like that. I mean, there's a lot of different things out there. Hey, Daniel Pimentel, I just want to throw out David Schultz, I think it's Schultz. There's a W in there that throws me off. Says he's bought 2 multifamily properties on VA loans, and he put his number in here. I won't list it, but David, SCHULWITZ, Schulwitz. I'm sorry, David. SCHULWITZ. Look him up on Facebook. Find him, Daniel, and it sounds like he'll be able to help you out. And we'll go from there. So I think we got them all, Ben. That's better than I thought. I didn't think anybody would have questions for us.
We had a few.
We had a
lot of questions.
That was good.
I'm happy that we were able to answer those questions because Jamie called me before and he was a little scared. He thought I was going to get technical.
Well, I thought we were going to get into the weeds of like like, the Fed and all that. I'm like, man, this could get dry. This could get dry real quick. So yeah, I'm just going to send Ben, take us out here. I want to, I want to get this guy, Daniel, David's information.
Okay. Are we done? What time is it? 9?
It's
9?
after 9. Yeah, we're good. David, I'm sending your info over to David, or to Daniel, I mean. This is live. This is what live is.
Yep.
Sent.
No, I see a lot of great thank you, many thanks. I'm glad and I'm surprised that this was helpful to people. It's just Jamie and I speaking, we're just answering some questions. I'm glad you guys liked it. Not
Hey,
sure.
to the question out here, where can I find more about the SBA loans from the CARES Act? Drop a note in any one of our groups. Somebody please help me with the SBA loans from the CARES Act, and you will get flooded with answers. Another guy you can check out is Chad Hoffmeyer at Local Commercial Capital. He's got a ton of information on that, so you could check him out as well. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it. Sorry that our original guest canceled on us. We hope that this was decent. Next guest we have is a guy named Nick Santana. If you don't know who he is a world-renowned speaker. He was born with one arm and one finger on that arm, no other arm, no legs. Speaks regularly on Tony Robbins stages. The Rock, to give you an idea, The Rock has 183 million followers on Instagram, follows 300 people, 300. One of them is Nick Santana. So check him out if you don't know who he is. He'll be our live guest. It'll be a family affair. So if you have kids, Nick is great with, talking about body image and self-image issues with kids. So we're going to target not only you, but also, your 10 to 18-year-old teenage child, if you will, to get great value from him. So come check us out. That'll be June 3rd. Beyond that, guys, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/multifamily and more. Ben, any other things I could throw out there before we end?
As always, no.
Okay. I'll see you guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
Take care.